Hi, Blake with BlvdHome, and today we're going to talk about ice makers. You know how much I love ice makers, but let's talk about this one right here because this is the latest and greatest fad. You know, this is your 50-pound under-counter ice maker that makes pebble ice by Scotsman. And you know, like any ice maker, they have problems, but they also have their benefits too. Let's talk about this ice maker here, and we'll talk about what you get for your money here. So with this ice machine, your typical ice maker, for example, a Frigidaire flex mold ice maker for like their bottom freezers or their side-by-sides, that particular ice maker, depending on the temperature of the water coming into it, makes about 2 pounds per day. This machine makes up to 50 pounds per day. So if you like parties and you know you love your pellet ice, this is definitely the way to go because it is nice, it's convenient, you got big openings and it's easy to get into this machine and be able to get your ice out. There is a drawback. You have to scoop out your ice maker, so you better make sure that you know who grabbed that scoop last, or they make sure they wash their hands before they threw that scoop back in that ice maker before you use it. But aside, you have to maintain this thing. You know, you're gonna say, well gosh, I just spent $5,500 for this thing. What do I have to do maintenance? Well, if you don't do the maintenance, your machine will look like this. And then this. These pictures are taken from a customer that's had this unit, they've never cleaned it. It's pretty yucky and pretty disgusting. I mean, you look at the bottom where all the ice is sitting, it's kind of yellow around the edges. There's a lot of junk up behind the panels and stuff on this. There is a cleaning instruction you have to go through with this machine. If you don't do it, it does damage to the machine and it doesn't last. You know, you'll hear groaning noises and you'll hear squeaking noises and you'll hear all these different noises that it never used to make. And if you really think about it, once you clean it and you see all the black stuff that comes out of all the stuff inside of it, you're really thinking, gosh, I've been ingesting this stuff, because it's not the most pleasant thing to be looking at. You're wondering, how does it get gross and dirty like this? Well, it's just from the water, the minerals in the water. The components basically working inside the unit. I mean, you have standing water in the unit and standing water in different tubings and stuff like that. Well, if you leave a glass on the counter and you let it sit for a couple months and you just keep kind of filling it up with water as it's evaporating, you're sooner or later going to get a scum build up on this glass on the inside from just sitting there and just constantly having water fed to it. You have to take the panels off. There are great videos online. Usually the instructions the manufacturer give you, they're kind of iffy. I'll be straight up honest with you. Some are better than others, but the manufacturers have done a great job for how to clean videos on YouTube that you can refer to tell you how to clean the machine properly and walk you step by step, and that's probably the best way to go. Another thing you need to do is behind this panel right down here at the very bottom, right here, behind that panel there is your condenser is down there. So just like your air conditioning condenser outside your house that has to be cleaned, you have to, you know, pull that panel off, take like a brush and dust it off, because it is low to the ground. If you have hard surfaces and hardwood floors, or if you even have this outside by your pool, you're gonna get dust and you're gonna get leaves and pet hair and everything goes up across that condenser and blocks off the airflow, and it will slow this down significantly on how much ice it does produce. The question is, how often do I clean this machine? Well, the true answer is usually about every 3 months, or the units do have a clean light like this one does. Now, not all of them do, but this one particular one has a clean light. When that clean light comes on, you need to follow your instructions, do the cleaning on this machine at that time. Usually every 3 months or so, that's when you want to do the maintenance on this to make sure that it is clean. And it is a little bit of a time-consuming process. It doesn't take a whole lot of your time, but it'll take probably about an hour to an hour and a half total. I mean, it's not like you're doing something the whole time, but the machine has to run through a process, and there's different processes that are for this machine. So again, highly encourage, look at your use and carry manual, look at the videos to tell you how to properly clean your particular ice machine. Now, the only thing that gets cold in here is the parts and the pieces that actually make ice in this unit. That's all it does. The rest of it is just basically a cooler. It's just insulated cooler that the ice falls into. As the ice melts, it melts off and then goes down a drain. So it either goes to a floor drain if you have one behind the unit where it's built in, or you have to get one with a pump or buy an auxiliary pump so it can pump the water away once the reservoir gets full in this, because that's how it makes ice, because it wants to get rid of the old ice, have new fresh ice on top. So you have to make sure that you're really plumbed and ready for that, because a lot of people don't really realize that when they get them for themselves. So that's something you need to be aware of. The biggest problem with this machine, to be honest with you, is maintenance. As far as this machine not working, this machine works very well, and most ice machines work very well. If you want to take anything away from this video, do the maintenance on it. Pay somebody to do the maintenance on it, because if you're spending this type of money, you need to do the maintenance, because it's not very easily to replace. Most people can't replace that. I mean, they're going to say, gosh, I need to spend another $6,000 in 3 years to replace this. I don't think so. I agree with you. So definitely do the maintenance on it. But as far as capacity of ice, it makes a ton of ice. Now, how this particular one works is basically you have, if you picture a roll of toilet paper that's a full one, you have the center hole down the middle. There's an auger that goes down to that center hole, and the water comes into the bottom. The outer piece of that toilet paper basically has your evaporator coils, and that's what gets the water cold. Now, the auger is always running, and then what it does, it pulls the ice up to the top as it's making, and it pushes it through meat extruders. So basically that's how you get your pebble ice. And then at the very top when it comes out, some have sweeper arms, some just come up there and break off, but then they fall into the bin. So that's basically how this unit works. You get a lot of minerals in the water with this, so your pebbles aren't necessarily clear unless you have this connected to an RO system, which most manufacturers do not recommend you have them connected to RO systems. If you have a cuber type system where you get the actual cubes, generally those, for the most part, are a water flow system. So basically you have a waterfall system that falls across the evaporator, and as it's falling across this cold evaporator, it creates cubes. Now, the water always constantly running across the evaporator, the minerals slough off the ice itself, so you don't have the minerals in the water or in the cubes when they're produced, so when you look at them, they're fairly clear. But all those minerals and stuff go into the troughs and go into different things. So again, it comes down to maintenance. You have to make sure you do the maintenance to clear all those minerals out, so the machine will continue to work and you won't have problems with them clogging up. Well, I hope this video has been informative for you. These machines are great, and if you're in the market for one of these, I would highly recommend it if you want lots of ice, because these are party machines. You'll have a never-ending supply of ice. You know, you have the countertop ones, they kind of work on the same system, but they're much smaller. But these are definitely the Cadillac of ice machines, and so the cubers are fantastic too. So if you have any questions or any comments, please put them below in the comments section. We'd be happy to answer them for you, and we'll see you next time.